So this is a extra video on these articulated finger extensions. I was asked about how we could make the parts smaller to fit fingers better, and also wanted to go over a couple of other things on sizing and scaling that I didn't cover in the last video or were incorrect. So for starters, I had not made my pinky or thumb yet, and what I had said originally was that you needed to use lever. Let me pull up my guide here. Lever 1, the 62 millimeter for your thumb and pinky. I tried the 62 on my pinky. It did not work. I had to go back to a 76. I have not printed the thumb completely yet. I've got most of the parts printed. I'm still trying to finish them off. So I'll update in the comments or something if I end up using the 62, but for now the 76 is the only one I've used that's worked for me anyway. Also, I would like to point out that on the part 1, these 16s through 1705, you can notice that they're only 2090 instead of 2375 for the X and 2751 instead of almost 30 for the Y. They don't fit well at all. They're too small. I would not recommend using them. I think if you need a size lower than 19, then you're better off scaling your parts instead of using these lower sizes. As far as scaling goes, I have this spreadsheet, and I'm going to put this in a link in the description as well. So basically, if you measure your finger and it doesn't fit between like 19 and 21 and a half, you can put the size you're looking for, or you can put the percent scaling that you want to do, and it'll give you the calculated millimeters or calculated scale for this. What I would recommend is, once you figure out what size you need, like let's say you need an 18 or something, you want to go about 10%. Well, I guess that's not a good number. Hang on, let's say you want to go for a 15 or something because you've got really tiny fingers. You want to go for about a 10% difference. So on here, if you notice the 70%, and I'm sorry, I meant 10% in increments of 10%, not just 10% itself. So the 21.5 at 70% would give me 15. So that's probably the size I would go with. If you went with something else, then the drill bits wouldn't work as well. And speaking of drill bits, I did try the actual drill on the parts. I did not try it on the gears or the connectors or anything like that yet. But on the parts themselves, you can use a drill with the drill bit if you're very, very careful. Just go slow and you should be fine. And just in case anybody's curious, my hand, I ended up doing the 21 small and the 21 on my thumb at 120% scale. My index and middle fingers, I did 20.5 at 110%. My ring fingers, 21.5 and 21.5 small at 100%. And my pinky is the 19.5 small and 19.5 at 100%. So that's what I ended up using for my hand. Like I said, you're going to have to measure yours to get it to the right size, but otherwise that's it. Now, as far as making the pieces shorter, originally I was thinking you could just grab the z-axis and reduce it, but the problem with that is, you see this angle right here, you need that for your parts to fit together. And so if you take the z-axis, scaling, oh, this is scaling, sorry. So if I just take the z-axis and I reduce it, then it changes that angle, and it also changes the holes on it as well. So you don't really want to do that. So what I figured out was this. If you take the parts and import them into a 3D modeling program, and you split them a certain way, then you should be able to reduce the length of the fingers. So what I'm going to use here is Tinkercad. And you can see I've already got part 2, part 3, which I'll tell you why I have that in there, and lever 2 in here. I'm going to go ahead and import. So once you create your free account in here, you can just do drawings, and I'm going to go ahead and import the model file. I'm going to choose a file, and then I'm going to go to parts 1 to 2, and I'm going to import part 1. So I'm just going to use the 21.5 for part 1. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's whatever size you determine you need in order to make it shorter or whatever. And then I'm going to hit import, and it's going to bring it onto the work plane. Okay. Part 1 is the only one that comes in the direction I want it to be, just standing straight up. So for the other parts, I highly recommend that you rotate them 90 degrees. Like this, let's say. Oh, shoot. And this one, let's go. This one, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it this way so that it kind of fits with the other parts. Actually, let's see. Let me go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees. Nope, other way. Because it's got to be, that's right. No, like this, yeah. It's going to end up being like that. So I want to make sure that it, when I scale it as well, that it fits with the other parts. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it up to the plane. And this one as well. I'm going to change my my grid to snap at 0.1 just because it gives you a little more precise control of the stuff. Might not be necessary, but it's just a little easier that way. All right, so if you only want to reduce part 1, that's going to be the easiest thing to do. The thing on part 1 is, since the holes at the top are the main ones, these you have to preserve these, and then you need to preserve the angle of this slope right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on part 1. I'm going to duplicate it. And then I am going to raise, or you can do it either way. I'm going to take it, I guess I'll take it to the side. Come on, escape. There we go. Just to kind of get that copy out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a cylinder hole from the shapes, and I'm going to bring it to here, and enlarge it, and I'm going to lift it up. Let's see. Well, first what I'm going to do is figure out how tall this part is. So it's, oops, it's still the hole. Oops, undo. So I want to figure out how tall this part is because I want to know how much I'm taking off in order to cut it down. So it's 42.03. So actually, probably want to do my grid 2.01, which is not an option. So we're just going to turn it off. All right. So 42.03 for the part itself. So what I want to do is take this cylinder and make it also 42.03. So it's the same height. Now, since the part I need to preserve is at the top here with the holes and with the slant, I am now going to look at it from the bottom, and I am going to reduce the height up to about the level I need. I'm going to have to eyeball this a little bit. Till about, let's say there. Let's go to 53 maybe. I'll tell you what, let's go to 16.03 just to make it nice and even. Okay, so now I've got 16.03 I know I need to keep, or I'm going to take off of this one rather. So I can go ahead and group these two. I can group them, and that's going to remove the top piece for me. And I know it's taken 16.03 off of here. Now I want to take another cylinder hole. I want to drag it over to this one. Increase the size a bit. I'm trying to get it to make sure it's covering. And then the height was what? 4203. All right, so I'm going to make the height on this one. Oh, dang. 42.03. All right, now I know that I've got, what was it, 16? Oh, shoot, I forgot already. 16.03, yeah, that I need to take off the top. So what I want to do now is bring this down, basically 16.03. And since I can't do math in my head, 26. All right, so 26.03 high it needs to be. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and group these two objects. All right, so now I've got basically the top and the bottom separated out. And all I need to do at this point is, if I want to reduce the size of this, is take the bottom part, reduce the z-axis as much as I want to. We'll put it down to here. And this should preserve the shape of the circle and everything that's going to connect. So then what I do is grab this piece. And since I just moved it to the right, I'm going to grab this one also. I'm going to align. And I'm going to bring them to this piece, and I'm going to hit the left alignment so that they end up in the same spot. Now, at this point, what I need to do is see how tall this is, which is 9. And I need to adjust this so that it's now 9 off the work plane. And if I've done it right, then I've got my shorter version of the piece. This is a little shorter than probably you would use, but you get the idea. So then once I do that, I'm going to group these two, which will make them all one piece. Don't worry about this line right here. You won't see it in your print or anything. It's just the way Tinkercad works, I believe. So once I do that, I can grab this model and then export it as an STL file, and then it will allow me to use it in my print. So that's how you size part 1. Now, if you size part 1, that's all you need to do is size part 1. If you size part 2, it's going to be a different story and it's a little more difficult, but let's try that now. So if you're sizing part 2, you're going to have to do basically three copies of it, right? So let's get this up to the work plane first. Oh, come on. Okay, bring it up to the work plane. We're going to go ahead and duplicate it. And I'm going to drag, and I'm going to pull that to the right. That's going to take forever, hang on. Okay. Pull that one to the right, and then we're going to duplicate it again, because we're going to need 3 different versions of it. Now I'm going to turn my snap off so I can do precise measurements. So with part 2, there's a couple things that you need to do. First of all, you've got to preserve this part up here as far as the curves of this. You've got to preserve this holes down here and this slant right here so that it'll fit with part 1, or 3, I mean, I'm sorry. And then the middle part you can adjust. So in order to do this, we're going to bring a cylinder out. I'm going to check the height of this, which is 56.62. I'm going to grab my cylinder. I'm going to make it 56.62. And then I'm going to expand the size so it fits over the part. Double check real quick, that looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate this cylinder twice. We'll go ahead and bring it over these just so we can use this in a second. So 56.62 high. So for the first piece, we need to do the top part, I guess is fine. So I'm going to raise this up until it gets to about where I want it. Now what I'm shooting for is this little line right across the top of the hole there. That's about where that slope ends. Maybe a little lower. There we go. That should be good. Maybe a little lower. Yeah. All right, that should be about right. And what I'm going to do is see how tall this is. It's 17.20. I'm going to cut the top off of here. So I'm going to group these two objects. I'm going to make one more duplicate of this cylinder. And then I'm going to lower it down to about the level I want at the bottom. Now, again, I need to preserve this this angle right here. So I need to bring this up just a touch. It's right at the top of that angle, which is good. All right. Now, this one, let's say 20. I'm going to change that to 20.30, just for rounding purposes. Now I'm going to group these two. Oops, sorry. That's all right, I'll just group them all at once. Okay, so now I know I'm 20.30 from the bottom. I am 17.20 from the top, and now I need to recreate those pieces. So this one is 56.62 tall. Calculator. I'm going to subtract 17.20. Oh shit. That gives me 39.32 tall. So then I'm going to group these two, which gives me my top part. Oops, messed that up. Undo. Okay, so there's my top piece. And then over here, move that over some too, so it's covering everything. Good, good, good. All right, so from here, I need to go 20.30 up. So if I do 56.62 minus 20.30, 36.32. So oops, let's go from the bottom. I want to make this 36. What's it? 36.62. Yeah, 36.32. And then now we want to group all of these parts together. Boom. Okay. Now we've got the top, bottom, and middle. The only part you can shrink, of course, is the middle, because you've got to keep the top and the bottom the way they are for the holes. But you can make the middle whatever size you want to an extent. Do keep in mind that your part 3, actually this is upside down too, I apologize. Part 3 has got to fit in there. So in order for it to fit, actually I have to reflect this way. Yeah. All right. So it should be okay because it's basically right there where the holes are, but you just need to make sure after you put it back together that everything fits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reduce the z-axis. It's at 1911. Let's move it down to like 983 or something like that, right? Now, since I reduced this to this size, let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to align based on this part to the left and there. So you can see I've got my middle piece, and then we're going to align this and this based on this piece to the left. Okay, so now we're, we got a gap because we made it shorter, so we got to look at the heights again. So this is 2030. This is now 983. So if I do 2030 plus 983, it's 3013. So I know at this piece I'm going to grab the little movie thing, and then I'm going to go 3013. That should put me right on top, and the parts should still match up together because they're still the same X and Y. You've only reduced the Z on this piece. So what I do now is I would group these together and go ahead and that way I can, oh shoot, I grabbed the wrong part. These together. Now, the only thing I would do now is to make sure my parts fit. So I'm going to bring this up. Oh shoot. Kind of match them a little bit. Go ahead and align these on the left or something. Now I should be able to pull this down so it fits in. So what I'm looking for here is to make sure that inside of part 2, that part 3 still fits, which it looks like it's fine. So once I do that, you might need to align this lever depending on whether you how much shorter you made it or whatever. You may not need to, or you could always try using the 62 millimeter. If you do, basically you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to cut the holes off the top, cut the holes off the bottom, and then cut the middle and shrink the middle and put it back together. Same way I just did with part 2. So that's really basically it as far as how to shorten the parts in order to make it fit a little better. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks.